Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good morning to our respected lecturer, Dr. Zairi bin Zaino, and to everyone watches this presentation. We are Group 2. Today my teammates Adam, Haikal, Aiman, Faris and I, Amjad, will present our topic titled Tackling Global Inflation, the Islamic prohibited of Ithaca and its role in price stabilization. In this presentation, we will discuss how Islam addressed the issue of inflation, especially through the prohibition of Ithaca, which referred to holding essential good for profit. We will also explain how Islamic principles can help create a fair and stable economic system. Without further delay, let us begin with the problem statement.
Okay guys, please look at slide 2. Slide 2, the global economy is currently facing unprecedented inflationary pressure. While it is true that post-pandemic supply patterns and geopolitical conflict are natural drivers of this inflation, there is a malicious that a catalyst at play. A natural inflation is frequently weaponized by unethical market players. They create artificial scarcity. If we look at our reality here in nation, the Department of Statistics reported at 1.4% overall increase in the consumer price index from November 2025, with the food and oil sector rising even higher at 1.5%. We experienced that a real work case of this recently with the severe shortage of local white rice uh, UB, uh, BPT. This was mentioned to rely on expensive imported alternative, completely destroying the purchase power the uh, befitting group befitting group. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you. Okay guys, I'm back here again. Moving to slide 3 guys. How exactly does this holding impact the macroeconomy? So it creates what we call the artificial scarcity law. We imagine a holder is dumb, blocking a rival. In phase 1, intentional withholding of essential creates a sudden supply shock. In phase 2, because the then restrict the flow, market price surges. But we remember this price high is completely disconnected from actual production cost. Okay. Finally, in phase 3, guys, this leads to immense social injustice. Predatory behavior directly exploits vulnerable household. Yes. Conventional tools like rising interest rates completely fail to solve this problem because they only treat microeconomic symptoms in ignoring the root cause of moral hazard and greed. I will now pass the presentation to Faris to explain the ethical diagnosis. Next slide. Okay, that is all for me. Thank you very much.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Adam. Now let us look at slide 4. In Islamic jurisprudence, deliberately withholding essential goods to create a scarcity and gain excessive profit is called ihtikar. Islam strictly prohibits this act because it considers a form of zulm or oppression against society. It prioritizes personal greed over the welfare of the community, especially during times of hardship. The Prophet Muhammad SAW said, "La yahtakiru ila kati," meaning no one hurts except a sinner. Another hadith also warns those who manipulate prices unfairly. This proves that market manipulation is a serious sin in Islam because it harms society for personal benefit. I think that's all from me. Next, Amjad will explain the condition of this prohibition.
Thank you, Faris. For slide 5, Islam does not forbid all form of keeping stock. Keeping enough supply for your family is allowed. However, sometimes become an etiquette of illegal hoarding when it pass four conditions. Firstly, first gate, the good store are more than what the person family need for 1 year. Second, the person keep the good to wait for price to rise and gain more profit. Third, the goods are important daily necessities such as food or medicines. And four, the action causes hardship and shortage for society. Even though there are slight difference among scholars, all four major mazhab agree that hoarding is prohibited when in harm to the public. Moving to slide 6, to prevent this problem, Islam introduced the institution of Hisbah. Hisbah refers to the market supervision based on the principle of enjoining good and forbidding evil. During the time of the Prophet Muhammad SAW, market supervisor called mutahsid were appointed to check honesty in the trade, ensure correct measurements, and prevent hoarding. Today, this principle can still seen in modern regulating body. In Malaysia, agencies like JAKIM monitor halal standard while KPDN protect the consumer and control hoarding activity. In Indonesia, organizations such as OJK and BPKN play a similar role in market supervision. Now, Aiman will continue with the discussion on the pillar of fair pricing.
Thank you, Amjad. Next, we go to the next slide is Maqasid Syariah and the pillars of fair pricing. Okay, for this slide, we connect these rules to the higher objective of Islamic law, known as Maqasid Syariah. The ultimate goal of an Islamic market is to achieve Taman al-Misil. It means to be a fair, equitable market price that reflects natural equilibrium and strictly avoids exploitation or zoom. This fair pricing structure rests on two vital pillars. The first pillar is Hifzu an-Nafsi. It is the preservation of lives. By preventing hoarding, we ensure uninterrupted access to basic psychological necessities like food and medicines. The second pillar is Hifzu al-Mal, the preservation of wealth. This protects consumer purchasing power and stop the unjust monopolistic transfer of wealth from the message to get ready cattle. The foundation holding these pillars together is an trending or mutual consent. All trade must be fundamental voluntary. When hoarders corner the market, buyers purchase out of artificial inspiration, which destroys mutual consent. I will now pass the floor to Haikal.
Thank you, Aiman. Now let's move on to the next slide. On this slide, we explore about the ultimate solution, which is state intervention and taksir. Looking at the state intervention spectrum, Islam heavily respect to the free market. If price shift naturally due to legitimate supply and demand changes, there is no intervention. However, when we cross the line into the market distortion, specifically for monopoly by the state, or ulil amri, which is it can become the mandatory. This is where the mechanism of taksir comes in. The state step in to forcefully break the hoarderdom, which is that Adam mentioned earlier, by compelling hoarders to release their goods at reasonable price. The state restore market and protect the most vulnerable citizen for extortion. Finally, we move on to the last slide. The last slide mentioned about the Islamic principle, which is focused on 3 policy recommendation to future-proof for our markets. Number 1 is the digitalization of Hisbah. The government must employ AI and also data analytics for real-time supply chain tracking. This will detect illicit stock supplies before they trigger artificial inflation. Number 2 is the stricter anti-monopoly penalties. The government also must enhance for our legal frameworks. The penalty we can include like license revocation and serve fines must be financially outweigh the illicit profit made from hoarding. Lastly, which is fostering akhlak, or we call it business ethic. We must mandate the Sharia-based corporate governance training. Instinct values like amanah and ihsan reduce our reliance to purely punitive measures. To conclude this presentation, the holistic economic stability requires an ethical foundation. Economic progress is inseparable from our moral obligation to society. I think that brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for your time and attention.